WNBA free agency is about to kick off, and the Indiana Fever will be active. And while Indiana has proven to be a young team with potential, there are some serious needs. So let's dive in. WNBA free agency is so exciting, and I am so pumped for this part of the season. And from January 11th to the 20th, teams can extend qualifying offers to core eligible and reserve players, like Kelsey Mitchell. And then, starting January 21st, teams can start negotiating with players. And that's where the fun begins. But for this video, I want to talk about Grace Berger, because in my last video, I mentioned her as part of a possible trade to get Satou Sabally over to Indiana, and a lot of you had opinions. My hypothetical trade included one first-round draft pick for 2025, NaLyssa Smith, Grace Berger, and a first-round draft pick for another year, maybe 2026, maybe 2027, because the draft class is so deep in the next few years. Some people thought that including NaLyssa Smith and Grace Berger was like asking Dallas to give us your best player, we'll give you our worst players, when really those first-round draft picks are probably the most valuable part of the trade. And some people argued, no, Grace Berger is our backup point guard. So let's take a closer look at Grace Berger. I happen to think she kind of got a raw deal playing under Christie Sides, who seemed to favor Christy Wallace and Erica Wheeler over Grace Berger, who was the 7th pick of her WNBA draft class for 2023. Now, that draft class was not as deep as the Caitlin Clark 2024 draft class and the upcoming draft classes, but still nonetheless a first-round pick, who very often got 0 minutes. So there's an argument that she was not given a chance to develop as a player. But when I did a deep dive on her, I was kind of surprised. This girl has style. Like, her footwork is pretty good. She's been dubbed the mid-range queen. Okay, so just taking a look here at her most recent game in Turkey. She had no hesitation on that pull-up. She has a pretty quick release. Nice. Getting around that screen. Or using the screen. She has good footwork, and her handles look good. And again, these are all contested shots, and her release is pretty quick. Oh, that was a nice fadeaway right there. Okay. This shot right here, I watched this already one time, and I was noticing that just like Caitlin Clark, she probably would benefit from developing a left-handed layup. Because if this were in the WNBA and they were playing any decent defender, like say an Ezi Magbagor, even Cameron Brink, I predict this shot would have been blocked. So let's go over it. Okay, so she gets around. There's 3 defenders, but like, okay, right there. Ezi Magbagor would have just swatted that right away. But again, we are not in the WNBA, and the talent is definitely on a different tier here. It was still a good shot, but the safer shot would have been to go up with a left-handed layup, because she's like scooping it up right into all those 3 defenders right there. Still looks good. And, you know, she did it because it looks like she has some speed, and very Caitlin Clark move here. Very Caitlin Clark kind of like drive to the basket layup. But if she developed a left-handed layup, that would be great. Nice behind the back. Nice kick up.
Basket bulmayı başardı. Grace Berger'le OGM Ormanspor bu arada top
kaybı geldi.
Grace Berger turnikeyi bıraktı.
This alone to me kind of shows that she has potential. Now, I personally, when I watch the Indiana Fever games, whenever Caitlin Clark goes off the court, I feel like I'm always holding my breath, because Caitlin Clark she has the court vision to like bring that team together to perform as a unit. And when she goes off the court, it gets a little dicey sometimes. Is Grace Berger the backup that we need for Indiana at a pretty decent salary of $79,999, basically $80K? And from what I've just watched here, it looks like she has potential. She seems to have good handles, some pretty decent footwork, and she does have that signature mid-range jumper. So why was she DNP for so many games? Now, it's not uncommon for those top-tiered teams to not play their rookies hardly at all in their rookie season, but Indiana was not that. They were the opposite of that, actually. And when they started the season, in the first game, Grace Berger got 0 minutes. She did get a few minutes in the second game, and her first shot was pretty cool.
Which was the WNBA record.
What did I say before? Maybe 60? That was a little,
right,
that's
right.
a little much.
If
she played the whole time.
Yes, for sure. Well, and now we're getting a sighting of Grace Berger on the Indiana side. First shot in the WNBA, and it's good. She didn't play in there.
It was a little iffy there.
On Friday.
But, I mean, that was not an easy shot, and that was against the New York Liberty. Now, this clip right here shows Grace Berger doing a pick and roll with Aaliyah Boston, which, if she can perfect, would be a great addition to her bag. True point guard. Nice pass. Okay. Nice rebound.
Berger pulls down the offensive rebound. A fresh shot clock here for
Indiana. Pick and roll.
Berger back for Boston, muscling inside. Good position. Boston with a finish.
That's good. So let's take a look at her stats. So these are the minutes she played. Looks like in her second game, what we just saw, she played 3 minutes and scored that bucket, which that's pretty good. Then she scored 2 for 16 minutes, but it looks like she was actually given a game in the middle of the season at 36 minutes, and she scored 15 points, which that's pretty good. And then in the next game, she scored 1 bucket at 22 minutes. But then she got 19 minutes and scored 9 points. And I mean, listen, she's a rookie. These are good numbers. 24 minutes, 14 points, 26 minutes, 12 points. And then all of a sudden in 2024, she was just do not play, DNP. So what are some of the pros to keeping Grace in Indiana? 1, she's a homegrown hero. Grace is a Hoosier through and through, and Indiana fans love watching their own succeed. 2, she is a mid-range queen. Saying that, she would definitely need to develop her three-point shot to space out the floor a little bit, but she can pull up and drain a midi. And 3, she has potential. She has cool style, she has good handles, and I know I've already mentioned this, but I love that spin move she does, the behind the back passes. I've seen a couple no-look passes she's made. And again, if you want to develop a point guard, she could be the one. And now the cons, the development time. Does Indiana want to develop a player as a contending team? If the Fever are looking for an immediate star to come off the bench, this might not be the one. But I definitely still think she has potential. But it's a little bit of a gamble. And at the same time, you can say that everything is. Even Satu's a gamble. Satu has been injury prone. Will she come in and develop chemistry with this Indiana team? So sometimes you just have to take that gamble. So I guess the question is it advantageous for Indiana to keep Grace Berger, a young and cheap player who has potential, to come off the bench for Caitlin Clark in the moments she needs a rest? Because as much as we don't want to see Caitlin Clark off the court, that's just not possible. The girl gets tired, like everyone else. She's only human. Or do the Indiana Fever play it safe and try to get a vet? Oh, to be a fly on the wall in that front office.